This short video is an introduction to the decision processes and outputs in the latest version of the HOTS Hotel Management Simulation. This version of the simulation has many new features, which I'll go through shortly, but much of the development is in the background to make HOTS flexible and able to accommodate a wide range of exercises and problem sets, from short courses in revenue management to longer exercises focusing on strategic development. The basic structure of most HOTS courses is that teams representing the managers in a hotel property are presented with a trading history containing the desired problem set. They analyse the problems, develop a plan and targets to address them, implement that plan and review the results. The starting point is usually the background document. The background document is in PDF format, and new documents can be loaded for particular exercises describing the scenario and problem set that's running at that time. Clicking on the link will open the document in a new tab in the browser, and this serves to give teams a mind picture, set the scene for the history of the hotel and its location, its business position, its business mix, standards of refurbishment, the facilities it has installed, and so on. Once the teams have read the background document and got a picture in their minds of the hotel they're operating and its immediate environment, they can move on to the market research documents list. This can be populated with whatever market research documents we want them to have access to. So in some exercises there might only be one or two documents in this list. For this example I'm showing a full list of documents which go from describing the national economy forecast through the forecast for the hospitality industry for the next few years, down to specific instances of feasibility programs for the conference market, for the health and leisure market, for eating out and so on. Next on the team's lists of things to do is probably to look at the trading history of the property so they can move on to reports. And the reports in the simulation are all laid out in Uniform System of Accounts for Hotels format for the major financial statement. So we have a cash flow statement there which is looking at the latest available month. In the exercise that I'm using for demonstration, my teams have made calculations and got the results for 1 month in the simulation, so the results for January are here. But when the teams take over their hotel, there is trading history for the whole of the previous year, which we call year zero, and we can look back at every month. So that's December, I can look back at November, go back to October. That's the cash flow statement. I can also look at a variety of income statements. So if I look at the statement of income, that's for October for the previous year. As I've started in October, I can add the last 3 months of that year together. So some 3 months, and I've got quarter 4. I can take this back to the beginning of the year, January, and that will give me quarter 1. Or from that point, of course, I can add up all 12 months to get the whole of the previous year. I can do that for a variety of statements. Statements of income, that's a simple statement of income. I have a more detailed one, summary operating statement, which includes a greater breakdown of expenses. And I have a very detailed departmental operating schedule, where the first page is the rooms division, the second page is food and beverage, the third page is other operated departments, and the final page is the undistributed operating expenses. There are enough detail in the schedules to enable us to arrange teams in many different ways, so we can ask team members to take on different roles within the organisation. Once our teams have looked through all of the background information and trading history, we ask them to produce some sort of plan. How detailed that is and what it focuses on depends on the exercise that we're asking them to address. It could be in a short course that focuses on revenue management. It could be the revenue management strategy. In a longer course that's looking at the development of the entire property, then it could be a business plan for several years to come within the simulation. But we would review the plan with them and then ask the teams to start making decisions on a monthly basis in order to implement the plan. So if we go to the decision areas, we can see on these tabs at the bottom of the screen the decision areas that our teams have to address. Now they can make changes to these decisions for every monthly period. Once they've entered their decisions, then we will calculate the results for that month. HOTS can be run in a competitive environment, so that means that if we have 6, 7 or 8 teams of participants, each team is the senior management team of a hotel property, and in that competitive mode each of them is running a hotel in the same location as the others, and they are all in direct competition with each other. So each team would see its own set of decision areas. And here you can see that they're making decisions on the rates that they're charging, the best available rate. The rate here for weekday room, for example, is for bed and breakfast. Each of these decision pages has a contextual help button on the top right here. That will lead to help for that decision page, and that will tell us that these rates for weekday rooms and so on are for bed, breakfast, and per room per night. So this team has set $125 in this case because this exercise is set in North America. But we can change that rate, but that's bed and breakfast rate. We could set a lower rate. We discount from that rate by 8% in this case to give us a room only rate, no breakfast included. We can set another rate by discounting the base rate to give us a lower rate to encourage length of stay. So if guests book 3 or more nights, they get a lower rate per night. And we can offer a lower rate if the guest agrees to pay on booking, not on checkout, and the room is non-cancelable once it's booked. So the teams make those rate decisions for setting 4 different types of rates per room. For those people familiar with previous versions of HOTS, you'll notice that there are different room types on here. So as well as the standard rooms that were the only rooms available in previous versions of the simulation, we now have executive rooms and suites. And because HOTS is now much more flexible, these can either be investment options for the teams at the beginning, so they can start with a hotel that only has standard rooms and they can add a floor of executive rooms with an executive lounge and they can add suites, or you can start the exercise with these in place and we run the hotel from the start with those options in place. They also can set rates for conferences, for groups and for events. For those there are no discounts for no breakfast and so on, but there are other decisions to be made. So here we have a revenue split, and for conferences the rate includes all meals, so it's bed, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks and so on, and meeting room hire, and the teams have to decide how to split the rate down between rooms division, F&B and conference room hire, and between rooms and F&B for groups, because group rates include bed, breakfast and dinner, and then for events, which are social events, so it's meal only with no accommodation included, then the split is between food and hire of the event room, the function room. We also have contracts available. There are by default 12 contracts available, but the user can set up his or her own contracts. You can arrange these to suit the location or the exercise. And these are contract inquiries from companies who would like to have a contractual room arrangement with the hotel. The team can enter a minimum price that it's prepared to accept for contracts and click the update button, and then can see those companies that are offering contract business at least that rate. The team can click for more information and then can accept that contract, but there can be intervention from the facilitator before the contract can be awarded to the team, so you're able to enter into negotiations and discuss with the team the terms of the contract and so on before you award it to any particular team. The list of market research documents includes a link to the calendar of local events, and this is a PDF document, so it's fully editable again, and we can set up whatever events we want in the coming year in the simulation, and we can adjust the demand patterns to suit the calendar that we put into the particular exercise. The teams look at the local diary of events and decide how that's going to impact their pricing. So if we return to the decision screen, and for the rates, these are the base rates, so the best available rate that the teams are offering for the coming month, but within that month we may want to set a different price for different periods. So on that calendar of events we could see that there is an event coming up in the second week of February that is at the weekend, and we think that demand will be high on that weekend, and therefore I want to put the price up, so I'm going to add $20 to my weekend rate for the second week of February. If I then save that, I can look now at the rates that the hotel is offering. If I go to week 1, we can see that the weekend room rate is $110. For week 2, it's $130. For week 3, it's back to $110. And so, of course, I can change all of these rates for any or all of the weeks that are coming up in the future, and be offering different rates for the weekend and the weekdays for the coming periods, depending on what I see as the likely demand. As well as setting the rates, I need to deal with distribution. So on the next decision tab, Revenue Management, I have a variety of choices to make here, to do with letting limits for groups and conferences, to do with the authorization I might give my reservation staff for offering discounts to people inquiring for late booking accommodation. And I also have a series of OTAs that I can choose to use. The first channel is direct reservations, the hotel's own booking system, including the hotel's website and booking engine. Then I have up to 7 more OTAs that I can choose from. I've chosen 3 here, so Apodo, Hotels Online and Hotwire, just for an example. And if I go to the next page, February week 1, this is the current week, the week just coming up, I can see the distribution of inventory that I'm allowing all of these channels to handle for me. Direct reservations, of course, is 100% of my inventory all the time for all products, but I can restrict the inventory. Hotels Online and Apodo are selling my standard rooms, and in Hotels Online cases, I'm allowing them inventory for executive rooms and suites. Hotwire is offering an opaque rate, so it's offering travel within the package, therefore I'm just allowing them to sell group rates there. And I can change the inventory week by week. In this case, I've actually set it to be the same all the time. But if there were particular weeks when I felt the inventory should change, I can change specific weeks, or I can use this button here to set the inventory for the first week, click that, and then the inventory is set for all of the future weeks. Each team needs to keep a careful check on its revenue management decisions, and each monthly decision period would need to check its rates and check its inventory distribution. To help them do that, another new feature in this version of the simulation is a new report that quantifies the commissions paid to agents or lost in those instances where the agent provides the hotel with a net rate and they keep the commission themselves. And the teams are then required to look at how the distribution, the inventory distribution that they've decided upon the use of OTAs, is feeding through to the bottom line performance of the property. Other decision areas include strategic decisions on F&B. The help file provides a lot of background information on different styles of menu. Basically, menu type 1 is a very simple table d'hôte menu, and we go up to increasing complexity to menu type 4, which is a full a la carte. The suppliers all supply good quality food, but supplier 1 is a national wholesaler. Supplier 2 has more local produce, supplier 3 focuses on local produce. And the teams have to make decisions on strategic fit, which type of menu and which supplier go best with the property they're trying to develop. They're also given cost prices for menu items, and from that they develop a typical meal price here. Of course, here they have to decide on what the overall gross profit target should be for the operation. But if you want to go further, another new feature in this version of the simulation is that teams can produce their own menus, detailed and costed and priced in PDF format, which they can then upload as that team's menu. So I've already uploaded one for this team. If I click on View Menu, then I can see the menu that's uploaded there. And this is a PDF document, so it could contain full pricings, costings and so on, or however much detail you want the team to be able to provide. And then you, as the instructor, are able to give each team a score which will improve their food and beverage performance based on your subjective valuation of the menus and the costings and pricings that they've uploaded. Other decision areas include staffing decisions, where the teams have to work with the forecasts that they make for demand for the coming period to adjust the number of full-time equivalents that they have employed and to develop the staff pay levels over time. And training, where the help file gives a great deal of detail on the training available and its cost, and teams need to develop an overall plan or a policy for training, because there is an undercurrent of turnover within the staff body, but also need to plan for training for new features and new facilities that might be introduced. There is a comprehensive decision page for advertising, where teams can run campaigns for any of their products, advertised in many traditional media, and there is a market research document giving them the relative effectiveness of different media for different products, and decide on the advertising budget and how much to spend. The help file tells them in detail the cost of the different adverts. They can choose to employ the services of a PR agency, which will help them refine their adverts and place them properly. They can be in the local visitors guide. They can open a social media page, a sort of combination between Facebook and Twitter that we'll look at in just a moment. They can set weekly budgets for things like search engine optimization, web designing and online advertising, largely to generate sales through their own booking engine. And they can run campaigns in traditional media for target dates, target weeks. So it may be that the calendar of events tells me that there is an event coming up in a particular week. So let's say it's in week 4 of March, that I think I can get a lot of interest in the restaurant for meals, and I want to advertise that in the local paper. Now that advertising campaign will be targeted at business in March week 4 because there's a particular event there. And I can run 3 of those campaigns at the same time, and I can change them over time as well. The simulation gives access to decisions on a full range of environmental management systems, including installation capital items that the teams can invest in to reduce the waste, the water usage and energy uses in the property. And also on the second page, they can introduce different schemes or become part of an EMS accreditation scheme. They also have to plan for refurbishment over time, so this is a policy decision that they will need to implement as time goes by. And the simulation now, another background development in the simulation, is that teams can develop different types of properties and be highly competitive in that market sector. So some teams may develop economy properties, so going for the tourist market perhaps, extending the number of standard bedrooms. Other teams can work in luxury properties and can add the features relative to those. And so when they're doing refurbishment, the cost and standards will be relative to the type of business that they're strategically developing. So if I'm going to run a mid-range property, then I would choose refurbishment at mid-range level. The help file tells me exactly what's included in that and how much it costs. And then the different levels here, level 1, level 2, level 3, are simply that level 1 is deep cleaning, level 2 is redecoration, and level 3 is a complete rebuild. The guest comfort decisions, rather similar to F&B decisions, are really strategic level decisions. So we're saying, given the market segment, that the market position of our hotel, what's the appropriate level of complementary items, in-room entertainment to have in the rooms when the guests arrive. Each of the different levels available is described in detail with its costs in the help file, and it's a decision on strategic fit. So a luxury hotel with level 1 complementary items, which is basically just soap and shampoo in the bathroom, isn't a best strategic fit, whereas level 4 for a luxury hotel would be a better strategic fit, or perhaps level 3. Same with in-room entertainment. Then the teams need to decide, should their property provide room service and lounge service? Should it have concierge service? If they decide to provide those, they have to go back to the staffing decisions and employ the appropriate number of people in the right department, and then they have to apply training for those people as well. The extra facilities decision page allows our teams to make capital investments to extend the facilities within the property. The start position, the problem set at the start of any exercise, can include some of these already installed, or they can all be available for the teams to decide on. And then in the background, the facilitator can act as the source of finance, so it could be through a bank loan. So teams who want to extend the property can apply to the facilitator for a bank loan with whatever level of detail for that application should include, appropriate to the type of trainee. Or the exercise can already have some of these in place. This particular one started off with executive rooms and suites in place, but our teams can still include several new features like building extra car parking area, including a shop, a new bar, restaurant extension and so on. So there are many capital items still left for them to do. And of course, if the hotel is successful and they bump up against the limiting factor of full occupancy, they can decide on capital investment to extend the number of rooms that are available of any type, and they can extend the number of seats that are available in the restaurant. The final decision area on finance allows a team to repay a one-off payment on its loan. Loans are automatically repaid every month, but if a team becomes cash rich and wants to make an extraordinary payment to pay down a loan, they can enter that in here. The business is a corporation, so at the end of the year, a team can decide to issue a dividend to its shareholders. And also, because the teams can develop different types of properties as they work through the exercise, so 2 or 3 teams could be running economy properties, budget properties, whereas 2 or 3 other teams are running luxury properties, they can decide over time which of the other teams are part of their comp set. So it could be that I'm running, as team number 1, Virtual Paradise here, I'm running a luxury property and I think only Hotel Nirvana, Barolo and Bal and Sebastian are in my comp set. Therefore, the economy properties, 40 Winks Hotel and the Marigold Hotel, I don't think are appropriate for that comp set, so I can remove them from there. And now my comp set will include only those first 4 hotels. Once teams have made their decisions, then we can cycle the simulation. Cycling is our term for calculating the results of those decisions and distributing the results to the teams. We can do that either by just making sure all the teams are ready and clicking this cycle button, or we can run the simulation on a timer. So we could give them 45 minutes at the early stages for a monthly set of decisions. If the time is running, once it's counted down, then it would automatically calculate the results for the month and move on to the next month. Once that happens, the teams can look at the reports, and as I mentioned before, there's a full set of reports available, standard financial statements, reporting statements, all laid out in the Uniform System of Accounts for Hotels format. So there's a variety of detail in operating schedules and income statements. There is a balance sheet produced every month. There's a cash flow statement each month, so teams need to keep an eye on the amount of cash that they've got available in the bank at the end of the period. Also gives them a breakdown of their loan and what has been paid in debt principal on the loan. Then there are sales reports. The monthly sales report shows the number of products sold, so these are the number of room nights, the number of meal covers sold, the number of liquor transactions. And the same report contains a set of standard ratios and factors, so we have rooms occupancy at the top, broken down into different room types. We have average room rate for the different types of room. We have staff turnover figures, and then further down we have RevPAR and GoPAR figures. At the bottom of this report is a summary of the most common customer comments. So from customers who filled in the comment cards in the bedrooms and the restaurant, and also staff comments from interviews, exit interviews, and so on. Also in the reports list there is access to the channel sales, so which sales have come through, which room sales have come through which of the available distribution channels. We looked at the agent's commission report. There is some information, because this is a competitive exercise, about the sales of the competing teams and the status of what they've invested in terms of facilities, and their refurbishment status available there. But there's much more than just the standard reports and financial statements available in the simulation. First of all, the teams can use their social media page to get feedback from the guests. This is direct feedback. There is a database of comments that is fed to each team depending on their results. So the comments that the teams get are directly triggered by the decisions that they make and the results that they get. We've only run one decision set in this exercise for demonstration purposes. So this team has only got one comment from a guest called Ruth Connors, and this team has replied to that. So a team can enter a reply here. So I can put in our reply, and then the team can post that reply, and it will appear above the guest's post. So the team has already replied here. This was a guest who had a very good stay and was complimenting, so the team have replied to say, "Dear Miss Connors, thank you very much for taking the time to give us your feedback." That left-hand side of the screen is rather like Twitter, so it's posts that guests can, that the hotel can reply to. The right hand side here is more like Facebook. So this team, the Virtual Paradise Hotel, has put some pictures and linked to a video. So this is one that I just took from the internet. Teams could upload their own if they wanted to, and this is a link to a PDF document that the team uploaded. So this is Perkins restaurant menu, and this will open the document in a new tab, and there we have the uploaded menu from that particular restaurant. This is a standard click the edit profile button. This is a standard content management screen. So here I can upload pictures, I can upload documents, I can link to videos, and of course I can adjust the text and the headings and so on in standard format for. Each team can look at the reviews for all the other teams, and the reviews are very tightly controlled to the team's outputs and results. So a review will only be given if a team has actually got in its results the things that are being quoted in that review. So this review for team number 4 says that the hotel is very clean and comfortable, and so it must be in their results they have achieved that. If we look at other hotels, dreadful parking situation was horrendous. Hotels have not invested in extending the parking facilities, which are very limited, but that review could not have been given if the hotel had extended its parking facilities. If we go back to hotel number 1, Virtual Paradise, and I'm logged in as Virtual Paradise at the moment, then we have the opportunity to reply to any of the reviews. So this gives us the chance to talk to teams about how to manage their online presence, how to reply to reviews, good and bad, from guests. So if we just put in 2 words, just say our reply would go here, and then we can submit that reply. So we can reply to all of the reviews, or those that we feel must be replied to. As well as the reviews, this acts as a booking engine for teams to be able to investigate the prices being offered by the competition, for particularly for specific events. So if I know from the calendar of events that, say, in March, which is next month, in the second week of March, let's say at the weekend, there is a major event on, I'm thinking about what my rate should be for that weekend. So I'll just look for a Saturday for week 2. And I want to know what Hotel Nirvana, I identify that as a major competitor, what are they charging for a one-night stay in that weekend? And then there's Hotel Nirvana's prices that come up for each of their different room types, and I can look at what they're charging for 2-day or 3-day stay, however much length of stay I want to. So it will show me any discounts to encourage length of stay that they've put in place as well. There is one report available that isn't available directly to the teams, in that they can't see it from their own logged in screens. So you as the facilitator can choose to distribute this by printing it, giving it to the teams, or putting it up on screen via a projector, and that's the balance scorecard. This balance scorecard reports on 6 key metrics. So for operations, there's RevPAR, gross operating profit, and transient business rooms market share, both in absolute and relative terms. Then there's a metric for the owner, return on capital employed, and then there are the results of guest satisfaction and staff relationship surveys. There is a second table which gives some of the key figures that have been used to generate the KPIs on the top, and that also can be useful information for the teams. You can look at this every month. In most exercises we limit it to quarterly or report for the whole of the year. So if I wanted to look back at a particular month, then I can control the year by the year spinner. I can look back at any particular month. If I go back to year 0, I can look at any of the months for year 0. And then I can look at the results. If I go back to year 1, that's the month that we're currently in, then we can see the results for all of the teams. And finally, in this brief look at the outputs from the simulation, we have access to the STAR report. We have an agreement with STR to be able to include the STAR report as an output in HOTS. And here we can see I'm logged in as Virtual Paradise. This is my result for January, and you can see my comparison occupancy compared my property to my comp set, ADR and RevPAR.